Hey guys, we're back with another episode of Living the Journey. I'm Jena Harris.
I'm CJ Sanchez.
And today we're talking about something that is really personal to me, and it's coming off the heels of the conversation that we had with Miss Evelyn Gano in episode 4.
Yep.
If y'all haven't seen it, go check it out. But, we shared so much meaningful conversation with her, and there were so many things that I wanted to take away and like tease out of that one video because I just feel like she had a lot of good information. And so when I was thinking about like what exactly I wanted to hone in on, I kept going back to this topic of eliminating toxins in your lifestyle and different lifestyle factors that affect your health. Like that's something that I feel has really changed dramatically in my life, and it's part of my health journey.
And I feel like it's part of, like, since, you share a lot of it in, like, the day-to-day stuff, even, like, when I ask you about certain things, or, like, trying certain products, or drinking certain things, or eating certain things, like, your take on it comes from, like, not just more deeper than a nutritional aspect, like, but it's natural, you know what I mean? Like, you've always, since, like, the way you say it, you always it always comes from that perspective.
Yeah.
But I think, one of the things to echo on Evelyn's conversation or discussion, we're really lucky that we were able to gain, like, really extract so much information, and her story take over. I still, like, I just kept, like,
so
rewatching it.
Stuff.
Like,
Tell everyone about the story takeover.
Yeah, it was really awesome. So we gave Evelyn an opportunity to take over our Instagram stories for a day. So she did it a few days ago, and it was really in depth. She started from like her morning, like starting off in the morning, her spiritual routine, her wellness routine. She does a lot of essential oils and the supplements and all that. Like her food, like she showed us some examples of her
amazing stuff.
And so if you haven't checked out that episode, I highly encourage you to. She has a son with autism. She's battling cancer at the moment, but all of that process from the beginning of her finding out her son's diagnosis with autism, she's taken a different approach, a more holistic approach, more natural approach to do some gut cleaning to really kind of balance him out. And it's really great to see the progress that he's made and the way she's kind of come about all that information. So I know when we were sitting down with her, there was just that natural, like, we were like both like, oh wow, taking it all in. But I could tell that, and we talked about it afterwards, like these were some of the things you already do.
Well, and I was just like leaning into her, just like listening to everything that she's doing, and I was like, this one, I learned a lot more, and there are some things that I've already implemented, or I've already been implementing, but then I picked up so much more information, and so it led me back to this topic about eliminating toxins from your lifestyle, because I truly believe that those toxins are contributing factors to cancer and to disease, and I really started practicing all of that about 2 years ago, removing the toxins after a book that Mark and I listened to. Is an audio book. It was called Estrogeneration. It's like a long title, but it's about removing toxins from your household, from your lifestyle, and that's really what started my journey into what I call my food healing journey, which ironically, like, the removing of the toxins has nothing to do with food, but it's just kind of how I have viewed health now.
It's all kind of like a combination of
things
for you.
Well, and the thing is, I never used to see health from like the small things in life, from removing
outside of a diet or outside of exercise.
I always thought about food and exercise, and my goals were more aligned with like I want to say like an ego-centered thing, like aesthetics and being strong.
But that's most of us, and one of the things, like, and as you continue to go into it, and you may answer this as we go along, but was I've from you having taken that journey, because my approach to that has been food, diet, and exercise, right? But which
is important too.
Right. And but I'm curious, like, from your standpoint, where you've done all of it, right? And you've had you like you even said from an egocentric standpoint of just like aesthetically trying to do whatever workout or gain a certain look. For you to do it in a place that wasn't centered around any of that, or like necessarily the food or the exercise, do you find being able to do the diet and the exercise easier because you've eliminated certain things and your body's responds to stuff differently?
I guess I just don't even think about it as diet and exercise
Yeah.
anymore. I think about it as nourishment for my body. I think about it as using certain foods for
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah.
So it's no longer this idea of eating X amount of calories or macros to meet a certain need. It's
Yeah.
more about like, what does my body need to grow, to rest, to feel nourished, to be
Yeah.
able to fulfill some of the bigger tasks in the day. Like, I don't want to be worrying about my food because I have bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
You know, I've got other
Ready
things
to
to
go,
tackle.
yeah.
So I look at food as, you know, as like what I said, is
Mhm.
healing and nourishment. And same thing with exercise. Like, exercise for me now is more about movement and about feeling good in my body and building it in a certain way that helps me accomplish my goals.
So when for you you say you started off with that book, but what was the beginning of that? What was this turning point? What were the things that you started that changed, that you eliminated, that you started really realizing, oh crap?
Yeah, so, and like when I started eliminating some of these things, it had to make sense to me. Like,
Mhm.
there's, I mean, we have so many things in our household that we rely on.
Mhm.
Like for example, Tupperware.
Mm.
Tupperware was huge in my house, especially because I used to like meal prep
Yeah.
hardcore.
Right.
And so I had like tons and tons of Tupperware. And in the book, that was one of the main culprits, is the plastics and the
And heating
Tupperware.
your food up in it and all that.
I mean, everything about it, even when it's not heated, it's leaching into your food. It's leaching onto your skin, and you're absorbing that. Remember, Evelyn was
Yes.
educating us about the skin and how it's the largest organ in the body.
Yeah.
And so just imagine, like, anything that you're in contact with
That's
is
released, or that has some sort of release.
it's leaching those, they're called phthalates, into your skin, and that is disrupting your hormones. So that was one of the big things that I started to do in my house, was remove plastic, starting with the Tupperware.
Excuse me. The phthalates, is that a toxin, or is that like a?
I mean, so I don't know all the details of it. I just know it's one of like the compounds, or one of like
Yeah. In the plastic.
in the plastics.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so that aspect of things was like the for me, I feel like that's not. Well, yes, it's an everyday use, but was it also like in the products that you use, like your day-to-day stuff, and like your beyond, like, or the things that you cooked with and all that too?
So that's interesting that you ask about what I cook with, because yes, that was another thing that I changed shortly after the Tupperware thing. So I did everything like in phases. It was like, okay, I'm going to tackle the plastics first. And so I removed as many of the plastics in my kitchen as possible. I mean, and they still lurk around the house. Like,
you're talking, and I'm already just literally going through my kitchen right now, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. And I mean, and they pop up every day.
Yeah.
Like, you're never gonna get rid of them completely, but at least you're more aware.
Mhm.
So plastics, and then I bought a nice pan,
Okay.
like to cook in.
Yeah.
Like a sartén.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think I had always cheaped out on. Like, you're just like, oh, I'm gonna buy this pack
Yeah.
of 3 for $30 at Walmart or Target. But the Teflon in the pan, like what it's coated in, is not the best. Especially like you're heating it up. It's, again, leaching into your foods, and then you consume the food.
So what are you supposed to use on that? Because I'm like, damn.
I think it's we'll have to look this up.
Okay.
But I use the Le Creuset
Oh, okay.
brand.
Yeah.
And it says there like no ceramic or no Teflon.
Okay.
And so what I know is that no Teflon.
Mhm.
So I'll look up the exact the material
Right, yeah.
that you should use, and we can maybe put it in the show notes.
Yeah,
or something.
definitely.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about this topic, I know I had mentioned to you, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to contribute to this, or I don't know what, but as I kept marinating it, and we kept kind of just like getting prepared for it, I got more excited about having this conversation because I wanted to be educated. Even when we sat with Evelyn, I go back and watch her. I'm watching the stories because we have it archived, and you pick up on things that I'm just like, man, it makes sense I'm not doing a lot of things. I'm making all this other effort. Like I feel like I'm making an effort.
Yeah.
To
In
a
your
certain
health,
extent,
like with your food,
or
and
certain
exercise.
things. But like I feel like it would maybe take it to another level internally to like be more not just absorb it to the things that I'm doing, but my body to react and just not be bogged down by some of the stuff that
Well, and I think
accumulates.
that's where the shift was for me, is like I started to notice that I was feeling healthier, I was feeling better, and it had nothing to do with what I was eating
Yeah.
or not eating. It was just these little switches that I had made in my lifestyle, from products I was using to the foods I was eating also. So like with food, I've taken more of a nutrient dense whole food approach.
Yeah.
And
Walk us through some of that though, because I've told you, like, I'm intrigued, like when I'm like, hey, what are you eating, and you're just like, oh, I just threw whatever together, and you know, you make up some sauce or whatever, but it's the combination of stuff. And I've tried a couple of your things, and I'm always intrigued, like, I wouldn't think of doing certain things or like whatever, and I'm like, that actually tastes pretty good.
Honestly, it's like a hodgepodge of whatever happens to be in my refrigerator. But I have started to eat a lot more vegetables. Like, that's one of the biggest things that I've changed about how the types of food. I mean, it was and it wasn't. It was more like
the routine vegetables.
I was measuring everything.
Yeah.
So it was like, 4 ounces of chicken or ground turkey, and then it was 2 cups or 2 handfuls of vegetables, something green, and then your starch, my half a cup of rice, or whatever macronutrient profile I had set myself up on that week.
It's weird how that, when you describe that now, for me, it and I know a lot of people follow that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it kind of has a negative connotation to me in my.
It does?
Yeah,
Well,
like to a certain extent, right? Because I feel like it's easy and it's a go-to, right?
Yeah.
And especially when you're trying to create that routine, and it works for a reason, right? And but it's literally like the only way you can go about it. But you've found other ways to maintain and to do things, and to not be so routine or so.
I feel like we're going to go down a rabbit hole here, because this is something, I mean, I could go on and on and on about this, because I have such a love-hate relationship with the macronutrient system and diets and diet culture.
Yeah.
And because I used to be there, it really created some negative ideas in my head.
Absolutely.
And negative emotions. And so it's something, when I talk about my food healing journey, it's centered around that aspect of things, the diet culture.
Which are more topics that are coming up about that, because I think you can really dissect that into so many different.
And that's why I say we're going to go down a rabbit hole here. But at the same time, and I don't want to diss it completely, because I know it did help me to maintain my health, my body fat percentage, and I don't like to think about those things too much anymore. But I will say that a routine or some type of a diet for someone that is just starting out, I think that's good.
Absolutely.
It helps you to learn. It gives you a guide.
Yep.
And then
that's where I feel I can vouch for that. But
so
I can't live like that.
Right.
And
and we should maybe try to graduate to the point of like where you're not counting, but you're listening to your body more.
Absolutely.
You're paying attention to which foods agree with you.
Yep.
And typically, to bring it back to what we're talking about today, whole foods, nutrient dense foods, non-GMO, not processed, not a lot of the what we call Franken foods. So if we can keep it as nutrient dense as possible with whole foods, then I think you're off to a good start.
I know we asked Evelyn this, and then she showed us we should cook something this week. We should make it a point to do that and share it. But what's a go-to thing that comes to your head right now? If you think of like what's in your fridge, or what you would go run and grab, that you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna do this for lunch, or I'm gonna do this for dinner. You like it, what it does, like, because that's part of what happens, like, after a while, like, that you can run in, grab X, Y, and Z, it's going to take this amount of time, and you're going to enjoy it, versus trying to figure out what you're going to...
Fish.
Okay.
Fish and vegetables.
Okay.
Like, I eat a lot of fish. I've discovered that my body digests it really well, and I like it. It's tasty. So I would probably make some cod with... vegetables from Costco. Mark runs to Costco like 2-3 times a week for Shake Express, so he brings back like bags and bags of veggies, and so it's usually like zucchini, bell peppers, spinach, and I make a big saute with olive oil, and that's something quick. If I have time for a starch, because those take a little bit longer to make, I would do white rice or sweet potato.
Okay.
So that's like an easy go-to meal and really colorful.
Yeah.
So when I'm making a meal, I'm like, how many colors can I throw in the pan?
Yeah.
So I've got like all these colors of peppers, the greens from the spinach or the kale, and then sweet potatoes. So just trying to incorporate a lot of color in there.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. And I think so. Back to like the eliminating toxins. So food is one way. Has been a way that you've not maybe eliminated but incorporated more.
More of the like the lifestyle changes.
So what were some big things that you eliminated outside of like from on a day-to-day on a route or like that you were everyday things for you?
So fragrance. Anything with fragrance.
You mentioned that one to me, and I'm
Yes.
like, I just stocked up on all this stuff.
I know.
Like,
I know it's hard to believe, but there's no such thing as apple pie candle.
Yeah.
It's natural,
You mean there's not blueberry pancake like scentsies that I could use?
No, I've eliminated fragrance in our detergents. On my lotions, I don't use lotion anymore.
We're gonna have to go raid your house. We're gonna have to go look and like.
But mind you may find like little lurkers, and that's the thing is like
Oh, for sure though, but that's like
things lurk. Things like find their way back into my cabinets and on my shelves. But no, I make a really strong effort to kick them out or get them out of there as soon as possible. But so my lotions, I don't use perfume anymore. Soaps, if
no perfume.
No
so
perfume.
There's not a one that like.
What I use is essential oils. I know we
Yeah.
talked a lot. That's why, like, when Evelyn was talking about essential oil, I got really excited.
As your perfume?
Yeah, and I just put like a little bit of oil. Like you can use any kinds of oil. There's Burt's Bees has this blend that I really like, and so I'll put a little bit in my hand, and then I have a tray full of essential oils, and I mix a scent, like a dash of this, a dash of that.
I didn't even know that. I had no idea
Vámonos.
that was your thing.
Yeah.
I thought you used perfume.
Yeah, no, I don't. And I'm pretty sure there's perfumes out there that exist that are
I was like, 'cause I'm
not
a big
toxic.
cologne guy.
And
Like I like that's like a thing. It's like
so maybe first step could be don't get rid of the perfume, but don't put it directly on your skin.
Okay.
If you put it on your clothes, it's got less
absorbed.
of a chance of absorbing into your skin.
Okay.
You'll still get it into your system through your nose.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to remember. Anything that you can smell, anything that you touch is being absorbed into your body. Yeah.
And that was the other thing too. I knew this was going to be a bittersweet conversation.
It is. It's
it was
like,
going to be
damn
like
it.
really like, oh wow, and you want to know what's better, right? Everybody wants to. I mean, I that's kind of been part of my journey, like health journey and all that good stuff. Is like, well, what's better? What's got more of like a positive impact,
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, I'm like, man, but I really like this. Or
Like the other thing that I was telling you the other day, and it really bummed you out. The plugins.
Yes.
You use plugins at home?
Yeah.
That's another one.
I got the Bed Bath & Beyond sale. Damn it.
That's another one. And so
what did I tell you? I was like, wait, you're telling me that mahogany teakwood is not a real scent?
actually, that one might be. That one might be approved. But just pay attention to the ingredients a lot more. We used to be big on plugins. Mark is my what do I call him? He's like the guy that's turning on all of the candles before people come over. He's
same.
like fabuloso everywhere.
Yeah.
Wants it to smell good.
Same.
And so, he a way of compromising, keeping the house smelling good and fresh, but trying to minimize some of those toxins was using those wax melts.
Yeah.
They're like they heat up and you put a wax on
They're
top.
like the Scentsy ones?
Yes,
Yeah.
but so we were making our own. Instead of using a wax melt, we would put coconut oil and then essential oil in there.
Does it, and that works?
I mean, you have to kind of use a lot of
Yeah,
oil
to
for
get
it
the scent.
for it to diffuse. But yeah, I mean, it's a good compromise if you live with someone that's like, I want my candles.
Yeah. Well, shit,
But-
I'm down to try that though because
Yeah.
like, I and then and that's got more probably like a natural like aspect to it, right?
Mhm.
What about like I remember back in the day, and it was usually around the holidays. My mom would like boil like cinnamon sticks and like orange slices and it kind of gave the house like
Yeah,
that, like,
that's like a
but
natural
more-
approach.
So that's something to.
Yeah,
that's
you
one
can
way.
you can do stuff like that.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that aspect of it though.
So, I must confess, Mark. So I still let Mark buy all his Bath and Body Works candles.
Yeah.
He's like he really likes them, and I feel like guilty for taking that
I
away
just
from
got on
him.
that
like,
bandwagon though. Like I feel like I just like now appreciate it. Like I remember you
What,
feel
candles?
the Bath and Body Works ones,
yeah.
or just candles in general. Like now, be on my own. I want it. I want somebody to come over and it like smell nice and be clean and all that good stuff. But I'm like taking them all in.
Just be aware of it.
Yeah.
So like he still buys the candles. I still allow them in the house because that brings him joy, especially during this time of year.
Yeah.
He buys the winter wonderlands and the balsam fir, but he just doesn't light them as long.
Yeah.
So we light it for like an hour or two, and then we turn it off.
Yeah.
And
Gives it
there's
that.
and there's other alternatives for good candles that are more natural,
Mhm.
but the guy really likes his
Yeah.
Bath and Body Works.
Hey, it is what it is. They know what they really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But no, that's cool. Like, so that's one aspect of things. And then, but okay, so more so for a girl, I've done some. The only reason that I'm familiar with that and have like an idea about all that is because one of like the hardcore diets that I've done in the past was the HCG diet.
Oh yeah.
And that one you had to like pretty much eliminate everything. And if anybody's done that one, not dogging it or whatever, but it's like.
No, I think I've even done that
hardcore.
at one point.
Yeah.
It's like a 500 calorie.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
thing.
It's
Yeah,
not. I know it was like a fad, and I did it like like a couple times.
I think I did it like 3 times.
Yeah, and it was like I just remember like it worked, right? But
Yeah.
obviously when you're only eating 500 calories, that you're gonna notice a difference. But it was the elimination of like everything that was a kind of a challenge. Like you didn't realize like deodorant that you couldn't use like the regular deodorant.
That's another thing that I swapped too. Yeah.
Any moisturizers, anything that like absorbs in the skin, and that's kind of where I kind of had the first intro to how sensitive things were, and even with like spices and all that stuff. Like I remember a couple times. So if anybody's done this, you know what I'm talking about. But like I'd go in for like my weigh-in or something, and it was like the first weigh-in. It's like, oh, you dropped like 8 pounds, and it was like, oh wow, great. And then the second, like one time I remember, it was like only like 1, and it was like, what are you doing different? They were like going down everything, like going down everything, like
kind of saying that everything matters.
Yeah, like one of them, like I remember I went through like the spices that I had, and something just because I didn't I think nothing was supposed to have like sugar or whatever, but I didn't read it that way, and of course any artificial type of it is gonna throw it off, but those things really do. I didn't realize how intricate or like how crucial it was to like your body really will throw things off. It's trying to process it.
And I guess it just makes you more aware of how every little thing counts. But I mean that's like an extreme
for
right
sure.
An extreme version of
but
how
I guess
small things matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the concept of like you're saying like you doing the things now, but that's not because you're doing a specific diet or whatever.
No, that's
just your body.
That's
like,
just my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like and I think that's part of how I want to continue living is in a way that gives me and my body the best chance at living a long and healthy life.
You brought up the cancer part aspect of it, and I think like nowadays everything has that warning, or right, everything's like a factor, or everything. It's just there's so many processed foods, so many processed products and things that can really affect that. And have you looked into more? I know you've done a couple things that kind of like get ahead of that, get ahead of that game, or
so I'm really inspired by eliminating toxins and living a healthier whole life because of many factors, but one of the most important, I think, is my grandma's diagnosis of cancer. So my grandma was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer in February of 2019, I think. And this was her second time around with cancer. And so during her cancer journey, excuse me, it's a little personal, but during her cancer journey, we found out that there were a lot of other incidences of cancer in the family. And so it just kind of like opened my eyes to the fact that I'm already, like, genetically, this is already in me. And so I wanted to do my part in giving myself the best chance of being healthy and living a long life. There's a lot of things that I want to do and experience, and the only way I can do that is if I'm healthy.
I know when you mentioned that to me, you were doing like a detox or whatnot, and you mentioned that, and I know the exact, like, with the exact same boat, just a different type of cancer, and it's happening. It's actually something we're dealing with right now. But I hadn't really thought about it, like at my age, like how strong of a I don't want to call it a gene, or how that runs in my family.
Yeah.
Like it's very, very close, very prominent, and several family members, have been affected by it, and it's affected my family quite a bit. So it's kind of also like the elephant in the room, but it doesn't. I think these approaches can be a way of addressing it without addressing it. Addressing it for actually, like, trying. I don't think you can. I don't want to say you can. Maybe I don't know. I don't want to misspeak and say preventative or not preventative, but taking a different approach to how you.
Yeah, I think it's just like an awareness thing. Like, I don't know that. I'm not going to have cancer. No one knows that except God.
Right.
But I know that I'm at least doing the best that I possibly can with the information that I have.
Right.
And I think that's the best thing that we can do is educate ourselves, be more aware, maybe try something different. I like I said, I wasn't always living this type of a lifestyle. My lifestyle was very different. But I opened my eyes a little bit more, and I wanted to try something different. I wanted to see if there was another way. And I think I stumbled into it, and I think that certain books came along my path, like this one that we're talking about today.
All aligned for like what you already knew you wanted to get more. It sounds like you kind of put it out there, and you're getting these signs that kind of lead you to that.
It always brings me back to this of like this this healthier approach to life that, like I said, I stumbled upon, and I feel so good. I think that it's made me feel more vibrant. I just have it comes
all full circle.
It comes full circle in the sense, like, I feel physically better, emotionally, spiritually, and I'm drawn to share that with people. And so I think that's why I'm so passionate about it.
That's awesome. I love that. And I think that the way you incorporate, that's why I think this conversation is going to be interesting, because like how you're incorporating that in your daily life, and as you like wrap up the whole or not even, because I don't think you really wrap it up. Like you're constantly, like you said, you're changing it as you go. You're using it in the way your day-to-day routine, the things you're not using, and the effects that it's going to have on your body, whether you use something or not, is the cool part. That's the education factor that you're kind of taking a different approach to it. So I think that's really cool.
Well, thank you. It's the more information that we can share with each other, the more conversations that we can start, the better. I think that I'm going through my own journey, just like you're going through your own journey. You're going through your own journey, and if we can talk about some of these things to help someone out, then
absolutely,
then that's what we're here for.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think like as we continue to like have these conversations, like Evelyn was really great. I think we've talked to a couple other people. I know we've brainstormed with people that have a different approach to those things. It's not a clear cut like approach. You know what I mean? Like everybody has to figure out what's going to be accommodating to their lifestyle, to their needs. Everybody's body's different. Everybody responds to things differently. Everybody has different predispositions and things that they're exposed to or not exposed to. And I want to hear more about it. I find it really interesting. I think just the more, like you said, the more that we can spark these conversations and have that flow of sharing those important things, the better that we can all kind of just adapt to those changes easier, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to continue that aspect of it. So
Same. I think we're going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you for letting me share a little bit of my journey with you guys. If you are not following us on social media, get on it. We're on Instagram at Living the Journey RGV. We're on Facebook at Living the Journey, and you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Please subscribe if you have.
We hope to continue many meaningful conversations with you guys. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you, and thank you for sharing.
Thanks for letting me.
Yeah. We'll see you guys. Take care.